Hola. Hola amigos. Estamos de regreso en un día nuevo. Estamos en un día nuevo y soleado. Vamos a empezar una nueva aventurita. Que la vez pasada morimos. Quisiera decir épicamente, pero no tuvo nada de épico. Solamente morimos. Este, este. Oigan, no tenía idea de qué personaje hacer, pero resulta que me di cuenta que siempre me quedé con ganas de tener mi paladín con set legendario. Y ahora que tengo la oportunidad, intentaré hacerlo. Más o menos así era, ¿no? Creo. La darkness. Así, darkness. No, espérense, ¿cómo se escribe darkness? Creo que dos S, ¿no? Darkness. A ver, vamos a ver si se puede. A ver si se puede. Vamos a escribirlo bien. ¿Cómo habíamos dicho? Sí, así muy blanca tiene que ser. La de labios morados estaba chida. Ahí está. No, ojos morados no, esa. Creo que me gusta más este para la darkness. Darkness. Y después nos vamos a hacer un game capture. A ver, esto no. Esto no. Esto no. Esto no. Esta vamos a borrarla. Ok. Ok. Tararara, creo que tengo que cambiar este audio para acá porque si no, no oyen. Si no, no oyen nada. Y aquí vamos a empezar. Bueno, pues les contaba que quiero hacer esto porque, siempre me quedé con ganas de mi equipo. De Paladin. El set de Judgment. Creo que se trabó mi huevo, amigo. Veamos el video.
The noble humans of Stormwind are a proud, tenacious race. Though the recent invasion of the demonic Burning Legion decimated their sister kingdom of Lordaeron, the defenders of Stormwind stand vigilant against any who would threaten the sanctity of their lands. Nestled in the foothills of Elwyn Forest, Stormwind City is one of the last bastions of human power in the world. Ruled by the Child King Anduin Wrynn, the people of Stormwind remain steadfast in their commitment to the Grand Alliance. Backed by their stalwart allies, the armies of Stormwind have been called away to fight the savage horde on distant battlefields. With the armies gone, the defense of Stormwind now falls to its proud citizens. You must defend the kingdom against the foul mongrels that encroach upon it, and hunt down the subversive traitors who seek to destroy it from within.
Okay.
Now is the time for heroes. Now humanity's greatest chapter can be told.
Okay, okay. Vamos a hacer esto rápido.
Good day to you. See you later.
Y con cuidado. Lo más importante. Con cuidado. Con cuidado.
What can I do for you? Well met. Be careful.
Bueno, les voy contando un poquito rapidísimo que andamos en un servidor hardcore. Bueno, en realidad no es un servidor hardcore, es un servidor permadeath. Permadeath, que es básicamente lo mismo, pero no. O sea, básicamente te mueres y te mueres. No puedes volver a ver a tu personaje.
How are you?
Lo que tienes es que puedes usar correo y casa de subastas, pero yo creo que eso es más por un tema de economía del servidor. Vamos a subirle tantito. ¿Dónde es aquí? Sí. Ay, güey. Ay, güey, ¿dónde estaba la...? No mames. No sé dónde está el tamaño de la UI. Aquí está. Estoy bien pendejo. ¿Por qué no pasa nada? Los odio. Te odio. Te odio un poquito menos. Ahí. Ahí está chito. Todavía bueno, entonces eso, lo que les estaba contando, me quedé anonadado. No, ya en serio, sí, me quedé con ganas de Dami, porque yo jugaba en Warlock. La verdad es que nunca hice contenido endgame. No sabía. Era muy pequeño y era muy tonto. No era tan pequeño, solo era tonto. Vermin. Estoy unos 30 segundos nomás. Ah, mira cómo se ve. he's meant to
a bobber in, it's going to float downstream. These objects were staying completely stationary in Category 4 hurricane winds. These same objects would then accelerate to supersonic speeds, 1.1, 1.2 Mach,
Okay, vamos a
and
escuchar
they
esta
would do
madre
so
de
in
pasar.
very erratic and quick behaviors that I don't have an explanation for.
Okay. Have you spoken to commercial and military pilots that have seen these off of our East Coast?
I have.
Okay. Mr. Favor, I noticed that Tic Tac video.
Tic Tac.
It's Tic Tac, like the candy, not TikTok like the Chinese Communist app.
That's correct.
Yes, sir. I just want to make that because my daughter corrected me on that and called me a boomer and said, "Hey, boomer," and I said, "No, baby, it's Tic Tac like the candy. You're gonna have to just look it up." And but now I would also like to say today is a day of many firsts. It's a miracle that we're having this meeting, and it's also a miracle that my wife has put up with me for 9 years today. Today is my anniversary, so I want to tell my wife happy anniversary and that I love her very much. As she likes to say, this 9 years have been the best 2 years of her life. So, thank you. Mr. Favor, what astonished you the most about the flight capabilities of these Tic Tac, very briefly?
The performance. Absolute performance. It was.
And you're not aware of any other objects that anybody in the world has, in this world, that has those capabilities?
No, I think it's far beyond actually our material science that we currently possess.
Are you aware of any other reconnaissance platforms that have tracked or recorded the Tic Tac's maneuvers, maybe the NORAD system or any of the others?
I am not.
Okay. Mr. Grush, thank you for being here, brother. Thank you all very much. Have you faced any retaliation or reprisals for any of your testimony or anything on these lines?
Yeah, I have to be careful what I say in detail because there is an open whistleblower reprisal investigation on my behalf, and I don't want to compromise that investigation by providing anything that may help provide somebody information. But it was very brutal and very unfortunate, some of the tactics they used to hurt me both professionally and personally, to be quite frank. Yeah.
It's very unfortunate. As they say, when you're over the target, that's when they do the most firing at you. Do you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
Yes,
Verga.
personally.
Have anyone been murdered that you would that you know of or have heard of, I guess?
I have to be careful asking that question. I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities.
Maybe in a if we could get in a confidential area, a skiff, we could talk about that. But unfortunately, we were denied access to the skiff, and that's very unfortunate in this scenario. Mr. Favor,
O sea, dice que se
do you
conoce
believe that you witnessed an
alguien que han
additional object
lastimado
under the water
desaparecido por
in relation to your encounter?
hablar
I
de
will say
alguien.
we did not see an object. There was something there to cause the whitewater, and when we turned around, it was gone. So there was something there that obviously moved.
Okay, it was not the same object though that you were looking at, correct?
No, we actually joked that the Tic Tac was communicating with something when we came back, and because the whitewater disappeared.
We were, in another instance, we're told about the capabilities of a jamming during viewing of when there were some people chasing some of these objects. Did you experience any of that jamming or interrupting your radar or weapons system?
My crew that launched after we landed experienced significant jamming to the APG-73 radar, which was what we had on board, which is a mechanically scanned, very high-end system prior to the APG-79. And yes, it did pretty much everything you could do, range, velocity, aspect, and then it spit the lock, and the targeting pod is passive. That's what we were able to get the video on.
I'm about to run out of time, but are you aware of any of our enemies that have that capability?
No.
Okay, I would also like to note for the record that, like George Knapp, breaking Area 51, he's the reason I knew about that. The reason I know about the Tic Tacs is Leslie Keene, the New York Times article, and I would encourage everybody to read that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back to you in no time.
Very good. Mr. Raskin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Graves, you reported UAP encounters during training flights, I think. and have since come forward to warn the Pentagon that these encounters may be putting pilots at risk. My first question is, you've identified these as taking place on the East Coast. Is it just on the East Coast where these encounters have been reported?
No. Since the events initially occurred, I've learned that the objects have been detected essentially where all operations, Navy operations are being conducted across the world. And that's from the Ultimate Anomaly Resolutions Office reporting.
All right, can you describe your experience after you decided to come forward and go public with your experience?
Certainly. Like many others, in 2017, I saw the New York Times article come out as well. And for me, it was special because I recognized the voices on the video. I recognized the video itself. I had seen it when it was taken. I seen it when it was debriefed. And so that was kind of shook me because I realized that this problem was still ongoing. And so I reached out to colleagues back on the East Coast and realized that this was still a safety risk that they were dealing with, that they had essentially hit a wall with how they could move forward on this conversation. It was at that point when I decided to try to move the conversation forward myself.
Are there common characteristics to the UAPs that have been cited by different pilots, and can you describe what the convergence of descriptions is?
Certainly. We were primarily seeing dark gray or black cubes inside of a clear sphere.
I'm sorry, dark gray or black cubes?
Yes, inside of a clear sphere, where the apex or tips of the cube were touching the inside of that sphere. And that was primarily what was being reported when we were able to gain a visual tally of these objects. And that occurred over almost 8 years. And as far as I know, it's still occurring.
King's honor, friend.
So I take it that you're arguing what we need is real transparency in a reporting system so we can get some clarity on what's going on out there, because there are many pilots in your situation, but we should have a way of developing a systematic inventory of all of such encounters. Is that right?
Yes, and I think we need both transparency and the reporting. We have the reporting, but we need to make sure that information can be promulgated to commercial aviation as well as the rest of the populace.
Mr. Grush, what about you? What was your experience after you came forward?
Well, it's only been about 2 months or so, so I guess my experience has been overwhelming support from former colleagues of mine that have privately messaged me, and I do appreciate that. But I do have knowledge of active planned reprisal activity against myself. It's very, very upsetting to me.
Coming from where?
Certain senior leadership at previous agencies I was associated with. And that's all I'll say publicly, but I can provide more details in a closed environment.
Okay. Well, I hope you understand that there would be bipartisan rejection of any attempt to vilify, demonize, or engage in other...
Están haciendo cosas muy técnicas. Au. Oh, por Dios, se está muriendo Diablo 4. It's dying, it's dying, it's dying. Arizona Sheriff. Qué loco. No sabrán qué.
Classic WoW Hardcore has been exploding in recent time. Everybody's playing it. The streamers, the casual players, the hardcore players, they're all hopping on the trend. People who haven't played the game in a long time, they're hopping on hardcore. People who've never even played WoW before are trying out hardcore as their first experience. But with all these players all in this one server, there's a lot of in-game politics and drama, and even some catastrophes. But the question we're asking today is the hardcore community falling apart before the servers even come out. So let's talk about what's going on, and I'll give some of my opinions on some things, and I'll go into detail on some things. And
Oigan, creo que estos primeros niveles, sí vamos a hacer eso. A ver, denme un segundo. Vamos a ver. Se me acaba de ocurrir que... No, porque me van a banear si ando poniendo otros videos. Sigamos. Solamente yo los escucharé y ustedes no tienen
For other
idea.
things, I'll try to just keep it brief. My apologies if I forget anything major.
No,
I'm just talking about the things that mostly interest me and I have opinions on. Now let's start by talking about what hardcore even is in the first place alone.
Okay,
All right, that question alone, we've already started an argument amongst the masses. In the current add-on, you're only allowed to party up for dungeons, and you're only allowed to do those dungeons one time until you hit level 60. And there's absolutely no trading, auction house, mailbox, none of that until you hit level 60. But even then, you can only trade, and you can trade freely at level 60. Now, the argument is that these rules are only in place because we can't control who plays on Blizzard servers. If they allowed trading, there would be people trading with non-hardcore players, and bots would just be running around everywhere. Now, Blizzard announced their rule set that will be forced on the official hardcore realms, and the arguments started to stir.
Otros jugadores hardcore. Y si pudieras tradear y hacer todo eso, pues todo el mundo se lo pasaría vendiendo oro y teniendo twinks y todo eso, ¿no? Hardcore.
On official realms, it looks like there's going to be no restrictions on trading and partying, but the dungeons will have a daily lockout. Now, I'm not as invested in these servers as I know some people will be, but for the most part, I kind of like these rules. I feel like the rules are good. I think trading and grouping is fine as long as everybody and all the loot that is involved is hardcore and nobody's died along the way. I know a lot of people won't agree with this, but for me, the perfect...
Ay, óigame, no, mi ogo. Sí, exacto, que pudieras tradear, que pudieras hacer todo, pero solo con gente hardcore, cosas que deben en hardcore.
Way for this server to be done would be for it to have been a super unique RP server. I'd allow free trading and grouping. You can do all that you want, but the dungeons and raids, they only have one lockout ever. They never reset, no weekly, no daily, nothing. I just think it'd be funny to see if maybe a guild could possibly beat Kel'Thuzad and beat Naxxramas with only one chance at loot. I don't really know if it would work out. I haven't thought about it too much, but I just want to see if it would happen. It'd be kind of funny. Because if you kind of think about it, on the hardcore servers, you only have one life, and if you die, you're dead for good. So why shouldn't dungeon bosses and raids also have that same mechanic where they also only have one life? They're also hardcore on this server. Now, I know everybody won't agree with that, and that's fine, but hey, that's my idea for what would be fun. I think everybody should be able to play how they want to play. That's fine, all right? What I don't like is when people flip the definition of hardcore. Because a lot of people, you see, they just want to play solo self-found, which is also fine, but not when you want to force everybody else on the server to play solo self-found for you to have fun. Solo.
Qué loco. No mames, no lo había pensado y no lo había entendido. Una cosa es que tu mono sea solo self-found, o sea, puta, no sé si alguien ya tiene una traducción para eso. Pero pues básicamente es que tú te provees de todo. O sea... no vas a comprar cosas en la Action House y no vas a tradear, no vas a hacer nada, ¿sabes? O sea, tú... Por ejemplo, lo que yo quiero hacer con esta, que va a ser ingeniera, pero no quiero tradear ni nada porque aquí está un logro, miren. Aquí están los logros. Estos aquí abajo a la izquierda. Aquí hay algo de ver, no puedo usar correo, no sé qué. Money from the mail. Ok, entonces es que una cosa es si es que sea hardcore y otra cosa es que sea solo self-found. Interesante.
Self-found is a personal challenge. Hardcore is something you can do with other people. So it doesn't hurt to have other hardcore people playing on a server where you're doing solo self-found. But it does hurt to force solo self-found on a server where people want to play together. Another big subject of debate has been appeals. Appeals have been a big part of the hardcore community so far, and I definitely feel it's needed for griefing and, bugs and disconnects. Now, there is people who will abuse the appeal system, but there are people who legitimately died to something that was out of their control and wasn't their fault. But Blizzard has told us that on the official realms, there will be no appeals. They don't have the resources, if only there was a team out there of people who are doing appeals on a hardcore server that Blizzard could hire. If only there was that team out there. But there's not. So that means when you're being a moron and you die in Dire Maul, you can't just put in a ticket and say it's a bug anyway. Because if you die on official, you will never resurrect. And I think Blizzard saying this had maybe encouraged another set of players. That's a problem we should talk about. The griefers. Now, griefers have been a big part of hardcore for some time now. Whether it's a stealth rogue trying to bait you so that you attack them and then they can kill you super easily, or it's a hunter dragging an elite mob across the continent so that he can kill people in low-level zones. Or maybe it's another rogue and he's stealthed waiting for you to turn in a quest that'll flag you for PvP and he can kill you and get away with it. No matter what it is, these griefers were running around like terrorists. But I will give it to Blizzard, they're doing a fair enough job at changing up some systems to combat these griefers. Like now, you can't fight another player unintentionally. You have to purposefully turn on PvP before you can attack another player. And if a hunter's trying to kite a mob around, well, he can't take it out of that zone. So there will be no more dragons being dragged out of blasted lands to be taken to Stormwind. There will be no more Duskwallow Marsh dragons taken to the Barrens either. These changes will be good, and they'll combat 99% of griefers. But what we didn't account for was that hardcore would bring out some real monsters, some real psychopaths. Like you thought the guy from South Park was bad. Nah, these people, they're real. Because there was an incident in the flying necropolis of Naxxramas. Now, I don't want to get too much into the morals of what happened, of if they were right or wrong in what they did, but there was a gentleman in hardcore WoW who joined a guild, raided with them weekly, learned, progressed with them, taught them stuff when he knew more than them. He even played other games that weren't WoW with them on random nights. And this man waited until the guild was on the final night of progressing Naxxramas. And keep in mind, no guild had beaten the raid in hardcore yet, and on the 4 horsemen, he perfectly executed the ultimate grief, killing 36 out of the 40 members of the group. And why not on Kel'Thuzad, the final boss? Well, Zeliak. He pretty much has an ability that doesn't care if you use petrification. He just kills you anyway. So he knew that his raid members couldn't get away, and this was the only opportunity. Now, Blizzard said they're going to have a no-tolerance policy when it comes to griefing and hardcore. And they've already been griefing a ton of players on the unofficial hardcore servers. So I don't know if this guy's going to get banned, because obviously he's playing it off like he didn't grief. But in total, it feels like the number of griefers have already lessened, unless they're trying to gain an army together for official that we haven't seen yet. So who knows if that guy is going to get banned. He did get banned off of Twitch, though. And talking about that whole incident reminded me, what we didn't account for was that hardcore would bring out some real monsters, some real other hardcore people playing on a server where you're doing solo self-found. But it does hurt to force solo self-found on a server where people want to play together. Another big subject of debate has been appeals. Appeals have been a big part of the hardcore community so far, and I definitely feel it's needed for griefing and, bugs and disconnects. Now, there is people who will abuse the appeal system, but there are people who legitimately died to something that was out of their control and wasn't their fault. But Blizzard has told us that on the official realms, there will be no appeals. They don't have the resources, if only there was a team out there of people who are doing appeals on a hardcore server that Blizzard could hire. If only there was that team out there, but there's not. So that means when you're being a moron and you die in Dire Maul, you can't just put in a ticket and say it's a bug anyway. Because if you die on official, you will never resurrect. And I think Blizzard saying this had maybe encouraged another set of players. That's a problem we should talk about. The griefers. griefers. Now, griefers have been a big part of hardcore for some time now. Whether it's a stealth rogue trying to bait you so that you attack them and then they can kill you super easily, or it's a hunter dragging an elite mob across the continent so that he can kill people in low-level zones. Or maybe it's another rogue and he's stealthed waiting for you to turn in a quest that'll flag you for PvP and he can kill you and get away with it. No matter what it is, these griefers were running around like terrorists. But I will give it to Blizzard, they're doing a fair enough job at changing up some systems to combat these griefers. Like now, you can't fight another player unintentionally. You have to purposefully turn on PvP before you can attack another player. And if a hunter's trying to kite a mob around, well, he can't take it out of that zone. There will be no more dragons being dragged out of blasted lands to be taken to Stormwind. There will be no more Duskwallow Marsh dragons taken to the Barrens either. These changes will be good, and they'll combat 99% of griefers. But what we didn't account for was that hardcore would bring out some real monsters, some real psychopaths. Like, you thought the guy from South Park was bad. Nah, these people, they're real. Because there was an incident in the flying necropolis of Naxxramas. Now, I don't want to get too much into the morals of what happened, of if they were right or wrong in what they did, but there was a gentleman in hardcore WoW who joined a guild, raided with them weekly, learned, progressed with them, taught them stuff when he knew more than them. He even played other games that weren't WoW with them on random nights. And this man waited until the guild was on the final night of progressing Naxxramas. And keep in mind, no guild had beaten the raid in hardcore yet, and on the 4 horsemen, he perfectly executed the ultimate grief, killing 36 out of the 40 members of the group. And why not on Kel'Thuzad, the final boss? Well, Zeliak. He pretty much has an ability that doesn't care if you use petrification. He just kills you anyway. So he knew that his raid members couldn't get away, and this was the only opportunity. Now, Blizzard said they're going to have a no-tolerance policy when it comes to griefing and hardcore. And they've already been griefing a ton of players on the unofficial hardcore servers. So I don't know if this guy's going to get banned, because obviously he's playing it off like he didn't grief. But in total, it feels like the number of griefers have already lessened, unless they're trying to gain an army together for official that we haven't seen yet. So who knows if that guy's gonna get banned. He did get banned off of Twitch though. And talking about that whole incident reminded me of another hardcore political debate. The flask of petrification. Should it be allowed? Does it take away from the spirit of hardcore to have that safe button just in case? Now, I kind of think, yeah, it does. But at the same time, I don't really think it's a big deal. I think if anything, they should make it be on the same cooldown as your other potions. So you can't just spam it if you mess it up the first time, and it actually could mess up and you could still die even if you have it. But again, it's not a big deal to me either way. But another big problem I think that hardcore has in the add-on era is people cheating. And when I say cheating, I don't mean Bag Jones getting a bunch of 10 slots. I'm talking about people whose characters did die and either did some workaround on the add-on or messed with the add-on's files to say that they never died. And I've seen it, and I've heard many accounts of this happening. But unofficial, this won't happen, because when you die, you just can't resurrect. But it also weed out more players, because they'll be stuck at the lower levels now. So in my opinion, I think Classic WoW faces a huge problem with all these things put together. With no appeals and griefers getting permanently banned, it doesn't really leave a lot of room for drama. And if I know anything about Classic WoW, if there's no drama, nobody's gonna talk about the game. And sure, all the streamers and content creators are gonna play the launch, and the masses will come from the hype. But how much of the community will be left on these servers after a month? After 6 months? After a year? Does anybody see Blizzard keeping these servers up for multiple years? Now, before we go today, I do want to talk a little bit more about my personal thoughts on hardcore and my plans for playing official hardcore. I've never really taken hardcore serious while it's been on the add-on, just because of there being other non-hardcore players on the server. I didn't really see the point. And I also decided I'm not going to take hardcore official very serious either. Hardcore is a game mode that, to me, every character feels 99% like it's going to be a waste of time because I'll die. But hey, if I'm not taking it serious and I'm just trying to get content and have a good time and make some friends along the way, then maybe it's not a waste of time if I'm making memories and having fun. I plan to play a warrior at first and maybe tank some dungeons, but I fully expect to die, and when I do die, I'm gonna play it safe and I'm gonna make a hunter and I'm gonna enjoy myself and try to get some fun weapons and kill bosses and maybe get some cool loot like the Ravager axe. Since warriors don't need it, they can get Bone Biter, which is better. But yeah, maybe I'll one day decide to just play it safe and go all the way to 60, but if I ever get to 60, I'm never stepping foot in a raid because I don't want my character to die. Anyways, if you made it this far in the video, let me know your plans for hardcore, or if you just don't care at all about it. See ya.
Me acaba de dejar como la ovejita de B-Movie. Chan, chan, chan. Porque justo yo tengo muchas ganas de equiparme, se los dije. Chan, chan, chan. Pero no, esto se trata de pasarla bien, de pasarla chévere.
In the last hardcore raft leveling video, we managed to take down RFC.
Classic WoW hardcore has been exploding.
Chito, chito, chito. Chito, chito. Ay, ¿qué pasó con el Witcher? La última foto, algo así salió hoy. Del Witcher, no lo puedo creer. Sepa. Se fue. The Witcher. El Witchando. Mueran villanos, mueran. Necesito subir de nivel. Ay, no quiero ver. No mames, qué horribles somos los humanos. ¿Qué pedo? Un tráiler lleno de atunes vivos. O sea, ¿qué pedo? ¿Qué pedo? No quiero... No, iba a atacar a esos güeyes, ya iba el otro. Ay, el lobo feroz. No mames, ese güey se acercó a platicar con ellos, no mamen. A ver, a ustedes necesito darles en su Mauser. Por favor, que no se acerque a otro. Porque me muero. Ahora ya sacaron lanzamientos de juegos. No mames. Estaría bueno hacer eso, lanzamientos de juegos, videos de lanzamientos de juegos. No, señor, no me ataque. Quiero ver un video, pero no sé si puedo escuchar videos mientras no los veo. Se me hace como agarrar contenido de alguien más y no solamente... quiero ver algo porque estos niveles son muy lentos.
Who remembers Tomb Raider 1, the first incredible adventure of the instantly iconic Lara Croft? If you played this game as a kid, you probably remember climbing around destroyed temples, shooting wolves as they chased you through the jungle. You probably remember how anxiety-inducing the open water swimming bits were, and you definitely remember the T-Rex. But do you remember the zombie centaurs who shoot exploding flesh bombs? How about the Uzis being hidden on an invisible platform high above a giant sphinx? Do you remember that one of the bosses was literally just a guy on a skateboard in cargo shorts who a taxi driver at you? Do you remember the entire last level has you running through a giant pulsating womb fighting winged mutants as they hatch from enormous eggs? You don't? Well, strap in, because we're about to replay the entire game. Tomb Raider 1 was insane. It's a huge 3D puzzle platformer with lashing beings of ancient aliens and Lovecraftian levels of rebirth symbolism. From trap-filled lava mazes to massive underwater Egyptian statues. And while it gets fondly remembered as a great adventure game, tell me, do you actually remember the plot? Because it is weird. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Strife Hayes. Grab a drink and settle in as we head back to 1996 and replay Tomb Raider 1 for the PlayStation 1. I'll be completing the entire game, showing you every level and mechanic, evaluating all of them, discussing the fantastic plot, and then asking the simple question, Tomb Raider 1, was it any good? Now, this game released on PlayStation 1, the Sega Saturn, and on PC. In this review, I'll be playing the PlayStation 1 version because it's what I had as a kid. Before we start, a huge thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep this channel alive. More on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. Tomb Raider was the creation of Core Design Studios. Now, Core Design had a long and somewhat successful history of developing games for the Amiga and Atari, but they didn't have a mainstream hit yet. So when the PlayStation 1 came along, they struck gold twice. In 1996, they released the 3D platformer Tomb Raider, and then 1 year later, in 1997, the 3D beat-em-up Fighting Force. Interesting note, Core Design Studios were based in the English city of Derby, and the Tomb Raider franchise went on to be so successful there's a road in Derby called Lara Croft Way. Now, back in 1996, the internet wasn't as big as it is now, so even if a game did release, it didn't always get that much public attention. The best way for a developer to get their game seen was on demo discs, physical discs you used to get with gaming magazines. So in December 1996, 2 months after Tomb Raider released, it featured as a viewable but not playable gameplay trailer in official PlayStation magazine number 14. Unfortunately, Lara herself lost the cover art battle to Fargus from Pandemonium. But 1 month later, in 1997, January, Tomb Raider 1 featured as a playable demo level, with Lara taking center stage on the demo disc box art. So let's start the game. The intro movie plays. Quick note, there's no way to re-watch this intro movie, no in-game cinematic viewer, so if you want to watch it again, you've got to start the entire game again. In 1945, a huge explosion in New Mexico unearths a cryo chamber. We can see there's a humanoid figure inside. We cut to Jacqueline Nadler, a wealthy, powerful businesswoman calling up Lara Croft, a wealthy, powerful treasure hunter. Jacqueline wants to pay Lara to head to Peru and find the artifact of Qualopec, piece 1 of 3 of a powerful ancient artifact held by the 3 rulers of the city of Atlantis. The artifact itself is called the Scion. The adventure begins from the main menu with the start game option being a passport, so you already know you're in for a globe-trotting adventure. But if you select the picture of Lara's house, you can play through one of the greatest tutorial levels ever made. Lara lives in Croft Manor. Now, in the first game, you don't learn much about her family history, but you do get to explore a very limited linear section of the manor. And this section is fully voiced remarkably well. You are shown how to run forward, or turn, or jump on the spot, and how to tumble backward and forward, or sidestep left and right. Tomb Raider 1, unfortunately, doesn't let you tumble or turn while jumping, which will become an issue when we look at combat later. The entrance hall is full of boxes teaching you how to climb over things. Run up to the edge and press action and you'll vault up onto it. The ballroom is converted into an assault course, and here you can learn all the basics you'll need. Running, jumping, walking up to edges, or grabbing edges from a jump, along with shimmying along cracks. Then finally, there's a swimming pool. Now, controlling Lara underwater is actually fine, provided the camera has room to move around you. And when you leave the pool, Lara says, "Best get out of these wet clothes," and then the tutorial ends. Now that line, "Let's get out of these wet clothes," gave birth to a playground rumour of the Naked Lara code. People said if you finished the tutorial fast enough, you could watch a hidden cutscene, or if you found a hidden door, you could see her naked, and it's not real. In Tomb Raider 1, there is no Naked Lara code. Now, Tomb Raider 2, well, that's another video. The Croft Manor section isn't that long, and unfortunately, there's no hidden secrets. So with the basics covered, we can go adventuring. Level 1 opens with a cutscene. We trek to the temple, climb up the side, and press a hidden button to open the door. Wolves attack, and our guide gets killed. So Lara jumps down and starts shooting, and immediately the game has established location, character ability, the danger level, and Lara's personality when faced with a threat. Game begins. We've got all the basics of movement, but the tutorial didn't cover guns. Pressing triangle draws your guns, holding X shoots. You've got unlimited ammunition with your basic weapons. We'll find better weapons as we go. Now, while your weapons are drawn, you can't grab onto ledges, pick things up, or interact with switches, giving the game a very explore mode or shooting mode feel. You're either doing one or the other. If you're ready to explore and climb, you're defenseless if an enemy does appear. And if you're ready to fight, you're limited in movement. And this really becomes an issue later in rooms when you need to do both. Pretty quickly we find our first trap, darts shooting out of the wall. Your health is shown to the top right. Now traps in Tomb Raider 1 always scared me because of their uncaring lethality. Make no mistake, this game is hard, and the final level is basically 30 minutes of the developers trying to kill you. Eventually the camera pans to an alcove, hinting we should go this way, and it's right, you should. You can just about make the jump and pull yourself up. We'll talk about the grid layout system later. Quick note about how fantastic the climbing animations are. They have motion captured the pull yourself up movement really well. Now this is the correct way to finish the level, but if you don't go this way and you carry on down the tunnel you were originally in, you'll find a secret. It's a jump just out of reach, but if you jump backwards onto this angled surface and then immediately jump again before you slide down, you can make it to the alcove and climb up. Doing this gives you a satisfying musical sting, and this is an excellent bit of game design. By having a player find a secret in the first bit of the first level, you've already rewarded them for exploring, which means now they are going to explore absolutely everywhere. If you ever wondered why you were so compelled to explore every bit of every level in Tomb Raider, it's because you got rewarded for doing that early on. Couple of enemies, just bats. When you have your weapons drawn, Lara will automatically aim at an enemy in range. You just need to hold shoot. The only issue with this is when the enemy dies, if you keep holding shoot, you'll just keep shooting at its corpse. If there are other enemies, you need to release X, let the auto-lock find a new target, and then begin shooting again. The cave floor itself is uneven, small drops or steps, but you'll see it's very square, and that's another very important design choice. Tomb Raider 1 works on a square grid system, and it would ultimately be this square grid system which allows the platforming to be so accurate. Tomb Raider's closest competitor in the platforming space at the time was Mario 64, known for its incredibly smooth and versatile moveset. Now Tomb Raider wasn't as smooth or as fast as Mario 64, so they wouldn't win that battle. But what they could do was go the opposite way. Instead of building for speed or fluidity, build for accuracy, and jumps you would feel nervous making, but know you would definitely make. With everything mapped to a preset grid, Lara's movements were always knowable and plannable. A forward...
Bueno, ya me aburrió. Turtle, wow, 9 horas ese güey streamó 9 horas haciendo una raid como un druida. No digas mamadas. Hace 1 hora ya tiene 370 visualizaciones, oh por Dios. Vamos a ver tricks.
Hello guys, Vet here. I can't believe it's already been a year since Valheim released. It's also been a year since we launched this channel back in February. I wanted to make a video going through all the little tricks and tips that I have learned while building. As some of you probably know, we don't usually do commentary-based videos, but I thought I'd try something new as I get lots of questions about Valheim's building mechanics, and hopefully I can share with you some tricks that I've discovered so far. Before I jump straight into it, I wanted to quickly mention this video sponsor, DatHost. You've probably seen this banner all over our videos. DatHost provide a very easy and quick to use dedicated hosted service for Valheim. If you're looking for a permanent world for you and your friends that is up and running 24/7, even when you are offline, I recommend checking them out. They make it really easy to upload your existing save file or easily switch to a different one using its drag and drop interface. We use DatHost servers often and they have some seriously good performance. We previously hosted the world with 8 players and had absolutely no issues. They also have a simple mods and plugins page, which is a one-click installation system, making mod playthroughs very easy to customize. If you want to check them out, use the link in the description and you will get 50% off your first month. Starting with tip number 1, using beams to make a flat area space for your building. If you've watched any of our videos, I think almost every one of them starts with a beam foundation. The reason why I do this is so I don't have to spend the time terraforming the land to make it flat. Now you might find you'll have an issue where you can't connect a vertical beam to a horizontal beam so it touches the ground. Sometimes a snap point won't generate. If you have this issue, a really simple fix is just to place a free place beam next to the horizontal beam, and this will generate a snap point allowing you to place a vertical beam going into the ground. I actually get this question a ton in the comments asking why I'm destroying the beams at the start of my videos, and this is actually the reason why, so I hope that helps. For tip number 2, you can use ladders to build better in water. Building in water in Valheim is actually quite difficult because if you're in a swimming animation, you won't be able to place structures. Building ladders in shallow water makes it a lot easier to build docks, allowing you to get much better angles or to place supports and beams. You can also use the snap point trick I explained a moment ago to better support docks in deep ends of the sea. Alternatively, build your dock on the ground close to the ocean, then remove the land underneath so it's above water. This is more time consuming, but much less frustrating. For tip number 3, if you want to build a basement or an underground area for your house, do it last. This is actually pretty simple, but finish the structure of your house, then dig an area just slightly smaller than the building layout to create a basement. The idea of this is the house will hide the massive hole underneath. I think it would be a really cool feature if we could eventually create terrain similar to 7 Days to Die. However, currently at this stage, we can't. For tip number 4, and it's probably the most common question I get in the comments, is how do I support the roof for larger houses? To help you with this, I follow a simple rule. If you build a house that is 1 floor, then you can just use normal wood beams. If you build a house with 2 floors, I recommend using core logs. If you're building a house anything higher, you'll need to use iron. Iron beams will solve most structure problems. Just make sure that the iron is connected to the ground. You can tell if it's connected to the ground when the building piece highlights blue. For tip number 5, I really recommend framing your house before placing walls. I can't express how much it actually helps me with support issues, as you can clearly see what structural issues you're going to have before you start chucking walls down. What I mean by this is using beams or core logs to almost create a floor plan of what the building layout is going to look like. You can do this as high as you like, however, when it comes to building the roof, it is worth just placing roof structures and not building it out of beams, as it just takes too much time and costs more materials. I do it in my videos just because it's a little bit more entertaining to watch. For tip number 6, beams are also great for interior decoration. If you have an area of your base or house that just looks a bit empty, what you can do is build makeshift shelves with small beams and small wood floors. They're actually really simple to make, they don't cost too much materials. You can use them to place item stands or just extra storage. For tip number 7, you can use ladders to make almost a sky roof. You can place ladders as an alternative to the 45-degree roof angle, giving it a pretty cool effect, allowing you to see outside from the ceiling of your house. For tip number 8, chandeliers act as fireplaces, allowing you to sleep without the need of having a campfire nearby. This is a pretty useful tip if you want to build a treehouse or a base away from ground level. You won't be able to cook, however, you will be able to rest your character. For tip number 9, if you want to have a concealed fireplace inside your house, build your house on beams, then simply remove a floor. Raise the ground slightly, then flatten and place your dock on the ground close to the ocean, then remove the land underneath so it's above water. This is more time consuming, but much less frustrating. For tip number 3, if you want to build a basement or an underground area for your house, do it last. This is actually pretty simple, but finish the structure of your house, then dig an area just slightly smaller than the building layout to create a basement. The idea of this is the house will hide the massive hole underneath. I think it would be a really cool feature if we could eventually create terrain similar to 7 Days to Die. However, currently at this stage, we can't. For tip number 4, and it's probably the most common question I get in the comments, is how do I support the roof for larger houses? To help you with this, I follow a simple rule. If you build a house that is 1 floor, then you can just use normal wood beams. If you build a house with 2 floors, I recommend using core logs. If you're building a house anything higher, you'll need to use iron. Iron beams will solve most structure problems. Just make sure that the iron is connected to the ground. You can tell if it's connected to the ground when the building piece highlights blue. For tip number 5, I really recommend framing your house before placing walls. I can't express how much this actually helps me with support issues, as you can clearly see what structural issues you're going to have before you start chucking walls down. What I mean by this is using beams or core logs to almost create a floor plan of what the building layout is going to look like. You can do this as high as you like, however, when it comes to building the roof, it is worth just placing roof structures and not building it out of beams, as it just takes too much time and costs more materials. I do it in my videos just because it's a little bit more entertaining to watch. For tip number 6, beams are also great for interior decoration. If you have an area of your base or house that just looks a bit empty, what you can do is build makeshift shelves with small beams and small wood floors. They're actually really simple to make, they don't cost too much materials. You can use them to place item stands or just extra storage. For tip number 7, you can use ladders to make almost a sky roof. You can place how much this actually helps me with support issues, as you can clearly see what structural issues you're going to have before you start chucking walls down. What I mean by this is using beams or core logs to almost create a floor plan of what the building layout is going to look like. You can do this as high as you like, however, when it comes to building the roof, it is worth just placing roof structures and not building it out of beams, as it just takes too much time and costs more materials. I do it in my videos just because it's a little bit more entertaining to watch. For tip number 6, beams are also great for interior decoration. If you have an area of your base or house that just looks a bit empty, what you can do is build makeshift shelves with small beams and small wood floors. They're actually really simple to make and they don't cost too much materials. You can use them to place item stands or just extra storage. For tip number 7, you can use ladders to make almost a sky roof. You can place ladders as an alternative to the 45-degree roof angle, giving it a pretty cool effect, allowing you to see outside from the ceiling of your house. For tip number 8, chandeliers act as fireplaces, allowing you to sleep without the need of having a campfire nearby. This is a pretty useful tip if placed on walls. I can't express how much this actually helps me with support issues, as you can clearly see what structural issues you're going to have before you start chucking walls down. What I mean by this is using beams or core logs to almost create a floor plan of what the building layout is going to look like. You can do this as high as you like, however when it comes to building the roof, it is worth just placing roof structures and not building it out of beams, as it just takes too much time and costs more materials. I do it in my videos just because it's a little bit more entertaining to watch. For tip number 6, beams are also great for interior decoration. If you have an area of your base or house that just looks a bit empty, what you can do is build makeshift shelves with small beams and small wood floors. They're actually really simple to make and they don't cost too much materials. You can use them to place item stands or just extra storage. For tip number 7, you can use ladders to make almost a sky roof. You can place ladders as an alternative to the 45-degree roof angle, giving it a pretty cool effect, allowing you to see outside from the ceiling of your house. For tip number 8, chandeliers act as fireplaces, allowing you to sleep without the need of having a campfire nearby. This is a pretty useful tip if you want to build a treehouse or a base away from ground level. You won't be able to cook, however, you will be able to rest your character. For tip number 9, if you want to have a concealed fireplace inside your house, build your house on beams, then simply remove a floor. Raise the ground slightly, then flatten and place a campfire using beams to section it off from the rest of the room. This works the same with the half fireplace, just needing to remove 2 floors except one. And finally, for tip number 10 is how to terraform land to make it flat. Terraforming in Valheim takes a lot of time and can be quite fiddly. If you're patient with the mechanics, however, you will be able to flatten land pretty easily. My best advice for this is to build an outline with beams to the level you want to flatten land to. Stand on the beams, then proceed to flatten with the hoe tool. It is important to stand on the level you want the ground to flatten to. You will be able to see a line indicator detecting the adjustment of height from your character to the ground. If you are lower, the floor will decrease, and if you are higher, the floor will raise. Sometimes you will find that the terrain won't adjust with the hoe tool. To fix this, use the raise option, raise the area, then flatten again to reshape the terrain. This may take more than one attempt, but usually solves that problem. I hope that helped, and hopefully you learned something new. I just wanted to quickly say a thanks to everyone. We get so many positive comments from the community, and we are seriously grateful. It's been a wild journey with YouTube, and I'm especially keen on working on more videos. I know recently we haven't posted as much. Building and editing these videos take me quite a long time. I think the average video takes about 14 hours. That's building the structure, decorating, then doing the full edit. I'm hoping Valheim is going to get some more content soon, but in the meantime, I should be posting more often. I usually wrap my videos up with a showcase, but as I haven't built anything, I thought I would showcase some of the builds that I enjoyed doing the most. So as always guys, thanks for watching.
Classic WoW hardcore has been exploding in recent times.
Valheim gives us the ability to build incredible things, but for those new to building, most of us probably start out with something simple, like this. So how do we make it better? Hey everyone, my name is Smitty, and today I'm going to show you 5 easy tips and techniques to enhance your Valheim builds. We'll be applying these simple concepts to take this starter home from simple to advanced. Hope you all enjoy, and without further ado, grab a snack, grab a drink, and let's get right into it. For some of you new Valheim players and some of you aspiring builders, you may start out playing the game and your first build may look something like this. So probably just your basic starter home, pretty standard structure. Certainly does the trick, but could certainly be upgraded to look a little bit better. So this specific plot is, I believe, 12 meters by 10 meters, and then it goes 4 meters up with 45-degree angled roofs. So maybe you get this far and you want to upgrade it, but you just don't really know how to go about it. And so that's what I'm going to cover in this video today. Just a couple of tips and tricks that I would do to go about upgrading this structure to look a little bit better. Alright, so the first thing I would say we should do to improve this structure is to create overhangs with our roof. So as we can see, the roof just comes up to the wall here, but doesn't extend past it. And that just creates a very flat feeling to the build, which
A
I
ver,
don't
que se
like.
vea, que se vea.
So the first thing we're gonna do is gonna extend this thing out. One thing I'm always cognizant of when I create roof overhangs as well is ensuring that there's enough clearance underneath. So usually I want to have at least 2 meters here so you can still walk under it, but ideally I like to have 3 meters. So that's gonna create a little bit of an issue here with this structure. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm actually going to increase this by 1 meter up and stick with the 45-degree beams, because that way when I bring it down this far I will have 3 meters of clearance. I think that'll just look a little bit better and it won't obscure the window quite as much. So we'll just go ahead and do that real quick. Alright, so I've taken out all the beams here, and now I'm just going to raise them up just an extra meter, just to give myself a little bit more space.
A little bit. A little bit.
Alright, I'll bring the beams down this way. Same for the other side here. And then we'll just fill it in with large and pretty flat. And so it might be necessary to actually break this up a little bit. And so what I like to do is add what's called dormer windows, which are these elevated window segments which help break up these flat areas of roof. So what I might do here is break out, try to add some depth. Pulling it out, I'm gonna make it look a little bit thicker by doubling up the beams. And so I'll bring this all the way up. And then from there, again, I'm just gonna follow the structural lines that I had established with my beams.
Roquetón. No, gracias, no quiero ofertas de roquetón, no ahorita. Del roquetón.
And just pull this all the way across. So maybe on the sides here, we'll go like this. Just increase the size of them. Also pull them out a little bit.
No, pues yo uso un chingo de madera, a la verga. New hardcore mode en Valheim, ¿qué es eso?
Over 2 years ago, I started a Valheim hardcore livestream series, but now Valheim has added an official hardcore mode, so I'm making a new video series on my channel. Valheim's hardcore mode means combat is much harder. We also have no map and no portals can be used during boss fights. On top of all of that, raids also happen much more often. Hardcore mode also means that when you die, you lose all of your skills and all of your items. However, I'm going one step further than that. If I die, I will delete the world, delete the character, and end the video series. So, the question remains, can I defeat every boss in Valheim with these parameters? Well, let's find out. Usually, in a new Valheim world, the first thing I do is go and get the location of Eikthyr, but in a world where I don't have a map, I'm not sure how that's going to work. Here we are in our new world. Let's see what actually happens when we do try and get Eikthyr's location. Okay, so it says map location added, but of course we don't have a map, so it's not been added anywhere. Honestly, I don't know what I was expecting to happen there. And without Eikthyr's location, or indeed even a map, I have no idea which way to head, so I'm just gonna head this way. Let's see how this goes for us. I guess the start of the game now will pretty much be as we always play. So we'll get ourselves some resources, and we'll kill some animals, and probably try and make ourselves up a little bit of a base so we can sleep through the first night. Whilst exploring, I found the perfect clearing to build my starter base in.
Se va a morir todo, decimos, si se muere ese güey pinche loco. No digas mamadas.
Of survival. This was easier said than done, however, as even killing boar was proving more difficult.
No mames, pasa aguantar a los monitos chiquitos estará bien.
Needs to be my next goal. As such, I made myself a shopping list of all the things that I would need. And as I need so much deer hide, I think making the crude bow first is a good idea, and then I can more easily kill all of the deer. I've made a very makeshift little workbench right here, and obviously this will need to be changed, but for now it's going to be good enough to do what we want, which is to make up the crude bow. Of course, a bow is no good without any arrows, so we'll go ahead and make up a good few wooden arrows as well. And whilst these won't be the best at fighting against enemies and stuff like that,
ay, otra vez este escandaloso.
and the goal behind this is to get as much deer hide as fast as we possibly can,
Qué molesto.
our armor and try and stop ourselves from dying. I have to say, even though at the beginning of the game, Drake would be termed the sort of easier part of the journey through Valheim, it's still quite nerve-wracking the whole time I'm playing. I feel myself somewhat anchored towards my base because I don't want to lose it, and I definitely don't want to lose it when it gets near to night time because I want to be able to sleep. On top of that, even just simple things like boar and neck are actually kind of scary to deal with, and I really don't want to die because I don't want to delete this world. So if you're considering a hardcore playthrough of your own, I'd actually highly recommend
O
it.
sea que siempre te va a matar boars o cositos de esos chiquitos verdes. Cabrón. No me imagino, pues es hardcore. ¿Qué pedo? ¿Ya hice un escudito? No mames, no sé, yo no sé hacer escudito.
But I was really hoping to find was actually what we see right here, a nice beehive, so we can start getting some honey production going, and that's really going to help us in the early game. So pretty happy that I managed to find one of these. I have a bit of advice for you if you're playing a hardcore world yourself, or even just a Valheim no map world, and that is, guys, don't log out and then spend hours not playing the game when you're out exploring. Because yes, that did just happen to me, and yes, I am now completely lost because I forgot what direction I was heading in and what direction my base is. And this is a little bit terrifying given that we are in hardcore. I'm obviously filming this, so yeah, if I make a big mistake, then everyone's going to see it. But hopefully I can find my way home before dark. I genuinely am a little bit scared that I won't, but yeah, let's see how we go. As you can see, it's really getting quite dark now, and I'm running quite low on food, plus my axe is almost out of durability, so I'm really lost now, and I don't know what to do. Even in my inventory right here, you can see that we only have 2 different types of food, so this is really not a good time. I guess I have to just keep exploring and hope that I find my base, but there is a real danger I could die before the night is out. Okay, a boar and a grayling at the same time is really not the best thing. Let's get one of these out just to scare him off a little bit. That's not scaring the boar so much. Oh my goodness, this is terrifying. Now there's 2 boars. Okay, this is really not good. Alright, we managed to kill the grayling, but that has used even more axe durability that I really don't have. So,
hardcore. Ahora todo lo van a jugar
the most terrible
hardcore.
thing is I was convinced my base is in this direction I'm looking in right now, but as I ran that way, there's actually a black forest over there, and I know I haven't entered one of those yet, so now I really don't know which direction to even head in.
And then it happened.
Oh, there it is. Okay. If you guys can see, yeah, there it is right there. Oh my goodness. I have never been so
Que se vuelve a
glad to see my
encontrar
base
su
in the whole
cama,
time I've
su
played
casa,
Valheim.
porque
I was
no hay
actually
mapa.
quite frightened to be home. And here's also, like I say, this is all part, I guess, of the extra immersion you feel when you're playing in hardcore mode. But I'm so happy to just shut this door to sleep right now that I can't even tell you. With a few days of grinding resources behind me, I can now make up the better armor and weapons apart from the cape. We need 5 bones for the cape, and currently I do not have enough. It looks like I'll have to take on the Black Forest to get what I need, but I am nowhere near ready for that in hardcore mode just yet. So our next goal is to prepare for the Eikthyr fight. However, this is hardcore mode, so nothing is as it seems, and we have 3 main considerations. Number 1, we have to find the Eikthyr altar because obviously we don't have a map. Number 2, we need to be geared enough to actually beat him because he is stronger than usual and we are weaker than usual given that it's hardcore mode. And number 3, we have to be ready for the aftermath. We have to be prepared for the Forest is Moving event where a horde of Grey Dwarves will attack our base. And again, they will be much harder to defeat.
Much more.
The first thing I'm going to do is build a much better base.
Necesitamos hacer esto más rápido. Más rápido. Es que el paladín se ve como muy lento, como muy estable.
Or at least I hope that's the case. So let's get started. The first thing I've done is cleared and flattened a little bit of an area here as best as I can. Obviously, at the moment, I don't have a pickaxe, so these big rocks are going to stay and just be part of the house until I can remove them. First, I decided to build the entry point for the house. The next step was for me to get the rough layout of the house down so that I could start putting it together in a bit more detail. The next thing I like to do is put on all of the roof pieces and sort of rough walls and things like
¿Qué
that.
pedo con sus casitas que se hacen? No
Pretty
mames.
much structurally sound, and that's going to help me then for the rest of the build. Because once I know that's okay, I
¿Qué
can get on with the
pedo?
rest of it.
¿Qué pedo con sus casitas? No, no, no. no lo puedo creer. O sea,
So this is the final look of the house that I've decided to build. It's not a building episode, so I won't spend too long on this, but I did want to show you guys what I'd end up doing. So the front here is going to need a bit more stonework done eventually, but it is smooth enough right now to run up into these sort of diagonal stairs that come up into the porch area and in towards the house. Heading inside, I've put down some marker places for rooms, as this will be something that we expand upon over time and is not yet the completed thing. Heading into the bedroom, and this actually gives us a comfort rating level 9 at the moment, which is really good for this stage of the game, and that's because we're able to get fine wood from the birch trees by rolling trees into them. I'm sure you guys know that method. And then through here we have the sort of work area where we've got some storage over here on the right and a workbench which is at level 3 already, so that's pretty good, and then the cooking stations over here. So this is what it looks like from the outside, and hopefully you guys will enjoy this build. Let me know any comments you have on this build down below though. I'd love to know what you guys think. Our next goal is to find the Eikther altar, only this time without getting lost. So I got some tips from this video by Jelly Jamboy on how to navigate without a map in Valheim. And the first thing that I'm going to need to do is make it sunrise,
hacen para jugar tan cabrón para ser tan buenos?
and it also gives us the full day to explore. The sun rises in the east and always sets in the west in real life, so we can then find out two directions by looking at where the sun rises from, being of course east and west. Now on top of that, we can also use the tree in Valheim. The Yggdrasil tree right here actually always points in the same direction. So with the tree, it starts in the east, that's where it comes from, and its final point is in the northwest direction. So let's have a sleep and then we'll get our rested bonus and we can set off in the morning. Here we are, first thing in the morning, just waiting for the sun to rise, and then we'll get the direction of that. But this tree is actually going to be very useful to us, because I know that if I head roughly underneath the tree, if I look up right now, if I stay just to the right of the main trunk, then it should take me back to
Señor
my base.
Maguito
So
le iba a
we use the
decir,
tree as a
pero
bit of a
eso,
marker,
oye,
so
un
I don't
pala
really
de
have any set
nivel
direction,
20.
which I know I need to head
Iron
off in.
Man
I'm just
se
gonna sort of run
cabello.
in this general direction and see what we can find. And once the sun comes up, we'll try and use that as some extra evidence as to
Verga,
know
se
which
mueren
way
un
to head
chingo
to
de
get back
20,
home.
¿no?
So out exploring, I can see this skeleton down here, and we've got a bow, so I reckon it's worth having a go at shooting him. There we go, with that one hit there.
Vamos a ver cómo nos va. Yo me morí nivel 7 la vez pasada, así que no digo nada. No, no es cierto, ya teníamos el dual winning. Nos volvemos como 11, creo.
So let's see, how many did we get on this little adventure here? We got 3 bones.
Voy a hacer Vito. Voy a hacer.
5 bones in total, which means I now have 4.
Voy a hacer Cartman y voy a subir solo metal los
Maybe
setas.
we'll find some more while we're exploring. Alright guys, I did find another one of these
Deme
structures,
carnitas,
and there
señor
are bones
Cerdito, por
underneath.
favor.
That's awesome. I believe I have to check when I get home, but I'm pretty sure I do now have the 5 bones I need, and that means we can make up our deer cave. As I was exploring, the mist decided to set in, and I thought all chances of finding the Eikther altar were over. But I was wrong, ladies and gentlemen, because here it is right here, and it's actually in a great spot. Now, the reason this is a great spot is because it's on the coastline, so if I follow the coastline back to my base, it's going to be super easy for me to come back and find this again when I need it.
Bueno, ya voy a ver hasta ahí porque no he pasado nada del Valheim y ese güey ya va a llegar más lejos de lo que yo llegué. Y no quiero spoilerme. No queremos spoilearnos, no queremos spoilearnos. No queremos spoilearnos. Ven acá, cerdito. Voy a hacerte tocino. Okay.
What's up, guys? Thanks for stopping by. I hope you're
New
doing good.
expansion.
Today we're going to be talking about the brand new Valheim update that just hit the test servers and will hit the public servers very soon. It's finally here. I'm super hyped. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. But let's do it. Let's check out everything new in the Hilda's request update. Alright, so this is the main thing. Hilda. She's a brand new NPC in the game that is just like her brother Haldor. And she is also a merchant. From Hilda, you can buy a bunch of new items that are mostly cosmetic.
Qué chido. Ok, ya hay nuevo contenido. Ni siquiera he hecho el que ya está. Después lo vemos. No me mate, señor cerditos. También nomás los cerdos son buenos, que yo no traigo el pinche sello. También si estás pendejo, pues... ¡Oh, la verga, nivel 9! Si ese güey me ve, me va a matar. Si ese güey me va a matar, mejor que no me vea. Ja. 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 Ja, ja, ja. Oh, pues temear. Ok. Ok, domesticas animales. Qué loco está el Valheim. $100 días. Tengo pocos.
Amigos de Saga, pues ya lo están viendo aquí con ustedes, Jaime Mausa.
¿Quién sabe qué sea? De repente eran 4 luces, una encima de otra.
It's a Walmart parking lot, and it's a perfect circle with the lights around it.
No,
in the parking lot. This is a fake video.
No digas mamadas, ¿eso existe?
¿Cuánto tiempo lleva ya con Tercer Milenio dando información de este tema?
Bueno, el programa se inició en 1997, en su primera época, y podríamos decir a partir de su segunda época, en el 2004, hasta el día de hoy, ininterrumpido. Y también tenemos un noticiario que se llama Tercer Milenio 360 Internacional.
¿Cuál ha sido el cambio que ha visto usted con estos fenómenos? También quiero entrar en esa parte de los nombres. Antes, pues, OVNI, UFOs, ahorita UPS, tienen distintos destinos.
UAP.
¿Cuál es el actual? ¿Cuál es el que se debe de manejar actualmente?
Es muy buena pregunta, ¿no? La verdad es que se consideró que el tema OVNI o UFO estaba ya muy desgastado, había perdido mucha credibilidad y entonces le cambiaron el nombre en las altas esferas políticas de los Estados Unidos y le llamaron Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon o objeto aéreo no identificado. Luego le cambiaron el aéreo por anómalo porque se encontró que estos objetos en primer lugar eran transmedios, podían pasar del espacio exterior al interior de la Tierra a las profundidades del mar. Entonces son objetos transmedios. Ese es su nombre que me parece a mí el más preciso.
Son objetos trans.
Sin embargo, la prensa de los Estados Unidos ha venido adoptando el término de UAP o Unidentified Anomalous Phenomenon. Es decir, ya no quieren que se llame aéreo, sino anómalo, para dar esa categoría distinta a los objetos terrestres. Porque ahora objetos no identificados pueden ser objetos terrestres. Lo que hemos visto, sí, hay una agenda de estos objetos. En primer lugar, se acercaron mucho a las bases nucleares. En primer lugar, donde se estrellan ovnis, y esto debido a que utilizaban radares los de microondas. Eran radares de microondas y estos derribaban a los objetos. Por eso cayeron varios alrededor de la planta nuclear de Los Álamos. Y luego estos objetos se dirigieron hacia las bases donde hay misiles nucleares,
¡Uy, qué loco!
Tanto en la Unión Soviética como en los Estados Unidos. Y hubo muchos reportes de la presencia de estos objetos en la cercanía de lugares donde hay armas atómicas. Vigilando todo.
Los aliens huelen no mames, huelen la radiación.
Lo que ocurre con los pilotos de combate, con los conflictos bélicos, ¿no? En Ucrania se han presentado muchísimos, incluso los científicos de Ucrania hicieron una carta abierta denunciando el incremento del fenómeno allá en Ucrania durante la guerra, y bueno, es una clara demostración de que estos objetos están interesados especialmente en todo aquello que estamos haciendo para destruir.
Hay también esta parte que está surgiendo de una nave nodriza que podría estar entrando a nuestro sistema solar.
¿Quieren dar una explicación por qué este incremento, por qué todas estas naves, por qué, o sea, cómo viajan? Ya están tratando de encontrar una explicación de, bueno, cómo llegan desde lugares tan lejanos a la Tierra, ¿no? Y cómo pueden superar la velocidad de la luz. Entonces ellos no imaginan que pequeños objetos de 5 o 7 metros van a venir desde el otro lado del cosmos. Y por eso se ha desarrollado la hipótesis de una nave nodriza que está en nuestro sistema solar, dicen, y desde ahí vienen estas naves directamente a la Tierra. La verdad es que consideramos, como ya está demostrado, que hay puertas magnéticas, portales magnéticos entre el Sol y la Tierra, lo cual demuestra que estos deben de ser comunes en el universo. Y a través de estos portales magnéticos se pueden pasar a diferentes dimensiones, se convierten en portales dimensionales, y creo que por ahí es donde viajan, pero ellos no han llegado hasta ese punto todavía. Están de alguna manera hipotetizando sobre la posibilidad de grandes naves. a veces uno piensa que el Pentágono es una gran cosa y esto, ¿no? Pero de repente cuando llegas a los departamentos como el que tenía Luis Elizondo, él mismo ha dicho, ¿no? O sea, ni trabajaba tanto personal, ni sus análisis eran tan sofisticados, ¿no? Entonces, quizá en ese sentido nosotros hemos logrado, pues, estar adelante de ellos, ¿no? Simplemente el archivo que tenemos es mucho más grande que el que tiene el Pentágono. Desde luego, yo no tengo los videos de los pilotos grabados desde aviones de combate, no tengo esos videos y esos son los que en este momento tienen la mayor credibilidad. Sin embargo, sí tengo todos los videos que me manda la gente o que nosotros descubrimos en algún lugar de internet y que son muy significativos sobre lo que está ocurriendo, ¿no?
¿Cuál es el objetivo de todo esto? De ellos con nosotros, la gente hace muchas especulaciones al respecto de que posiblemente nos van a invadir. ¿Cuál es la lectura? ¿Están volando?
No somos tan importantes, en primer lugar. En segundo lugar, pues, ¿qué interés pueden tener en nosotros? El de una civilización desarrollada que, pues, le da pena ver a una civilización menos desarrollada con un mundo tan rico como el que tenemos, estarlo destruyendo, estar acabando con él de una manera absurda, ¿no? Y amenazarnos con guerras nucleares, etcétera. Deben de vernos, bueno, como verdaderos animales, ¿no? Desafortunadamente, y quieren ayudarnos a superar este momento, porque si lo logramos superar en los próximos años, bueno, las predicciones están de que con la inteligencia artificial en poco tiempo el ser humano va a lograr ser un ser eterno. Afortunadamente, en poco tiempo vamos a tener y enfrentar crisis enormes, ¿no? Están desapareciendo los insectos, creo que esa es una verdadera amenaza para la humanidad, están desapareciendo todas las especies, estamos llenando el planeta de los llamados químicos eternos. Se dice que 1 de cada 3 personas que está viva ahorita en el mundo va a morir de cáncer. Las reservas de agua se han reducido considerablemente. O sea, hay tantos peligros que nos aguardan en un futuro cercano que posiblemente podríamos no llegar a lo que nos promete esta visión del mundo del futuro, ¿no? Donde el ser humano va a tener muchos más recursos y posibilidades, pero si no cuidamos a la Tierra en este momento no lo vamos a hacer.
Digamos que es contraproducente estos ataques de Estados Unidos que derribaron objetos voladores. ¿Esto fue real?
Sí, fue real. Fueron naves que yo creo que no eran de este mundo, porque es muy simple. ¿Por qué no han presentado los videos? ¿Por qué no han presentado las imágenes del derribo de estos objetos? ¿Por qué si se dijo que ya los habían recogido? Porque esa noticia salió en CNN el sábado 11 de febrero, que ya habían recuperado una buena parte del primer objeto derribado. Luego dijeron que no lo iban a hacer, cuando ya lo habían hecho, ¿no? ¿Y por qué siguen negando la posibilidad de liberar las imágenes del momento de los derribos? Ahí te indica que algo están escondiendo. ¿Por qué lo declararon de seguridad nacional? ¿Porque eran unos globos? ¿No? Entonces eso te lleva a pensar que se trata de una cosa totalmente distinta.
Creo que es de bastante relevancia lo que se está platicando. Sin embargo, también hay personas que no le dan el cierto criterio y caen en este juego de querer utilizar el fenómeno ovni o entes extraterrestres para lograr, como la chava esta que habla alienígena.
¿Cuál sería? Pues no dar la menor importancia.
¿No puede haber alguien que pueda hablar eso?
Pues no es que no pueda, ser imposible no es imposible, pero ¿cómo lo ha demostrado? ¿Lo ha demostrado de alguna manera? Ha demostrado en contactar, saber que les hable y que vengan y que hagan o que le digan algo que van a hacer y que se pueda demostrar, ¿no? O sea, no podemos creer todo lo que se dice alrededor de este fenómeno. Hay mucha información falsa alrededor del fenómeno.
O sea, ¿esta mujer podría ser falsa?
Yo creo que es falsa, a menos que demuestre lo contrario. Ante una afirmación extraordinaria, evidencias extraordinarias, ¿dónde están? O sea, solamente se puso a hablar y hablaba bonito y esto, pero alguna prueba. Y eso es para todos, eso es para mí. Si yo digo algo, lo tengo que demostrar. Y yo es lo que hago, como periodista yo demuestro lo que digo. Me parece que ese es mi papel, es lo que tengo que hacer y lo que tiene que hacer cualquier persona que dice cualquier cosa alrededor de este fenómeno.
Esta importancia, entonces nos quieren decir un mensaje. ellos vienen aquí a querernos transmitir un mensaje de alerta, un mensaje de diálogo.
Yo creo que ellos desean establecer comunicación con nosotros. Yo creo que una vez que se acepte que estos seres ahí están, que no son de este mundo, ya cada día se agregan nuevas y nuevas evidencias. El día de hoy en la mañana se habló de una señal coherente que viene de otro planeta, de un planeta que podría ser un planeta inteligente. Entonces, todos los días hay nuevas evidencias y por tanto, muy pronto vamos a aceptar que ya están aquí. Y en ese momento, ¿qué? Ok, ya están aquí. ¿Qué sigue? La comunicación. Nosotros tenemos que hacer un esfuerzo por comunicarse con ellos y ellos se van a comunicar con nosotros y ahí podría entonces venir un intercambio de ideas que seguramente va a cambiar a la humanidad. Y estamos cerca.
¿Estamos preparados?
¿Dónde está Renato?
Pues tenemos que estarlo. ¿Ok? ¿Cuánto tiempo más nos vamos a esperar? Yo creo que si el mundo hubiera recibido la noticia en 1947, el mundo el día de hoy sería muy distinto. No sé qué piensas tú. Y si fuera muy distinto, a lo mejor no estaríamos metidos en todos estos problemas. A lo mejor hubiéramos evolucionado hacia convertirnos en una sociedad cósmica desde hace mucho tiempo. Y esa es la razón por la cual los Estados Unidos no quieren hablar de esto abiertamente. ¿Por qué? Porque tienen las manos sucias. ¿Por qué? Porque ellos saben que tarde o temprano se va a descubrir que ellos tienen naves y tienen cuerpos o tuvieron, o todavía los tienen, y que desafortunadamente pues no dijeron la verdad.
¿Y se va a dar a conocer en algún momento?
Claro, sí, la verdad siempre termina saliendo, ¿no? Y entonces va a ser muy lamentable para ellos el haberlo hecho. Yo creo que fue una mala idea desde el principio. No puedes ocultar evidencias tan importantes como estas para la humanidad. Tú no le puedes negar a la humanidad su posibilidad de hacerse una sociedad cósmica. Y ahí mismo tuvimos esa oportunidad. Y por miedo y que no, pues que Orson Welles ya demostró que la humanidad no está preparada y que si dicen que aquí están los extraterrestres, la gente va a saltar de los edificios, etcétera. Y yo creo que no hubiera sucedido y además que muy rápidamente nos hubiéramos adaptado al cambio y que hubiéramos evolucionado con él y que no estaríamos metidos en todos los problemas que vemos el día de hoy. Creo que fue lamentable y creo que fue un verdadero crimen para la humanidad haberse apropiado de esta verdad por tanto tiempo.
¿Y de la información?
Por tanto tiempo, sí.
Ya la última.
Qué loco.
¿Cuál sería, en este caso entonces?
Qué loco el señor Jaime Maus, ante mucha información. Está cabrón, ¿no? Ser periodista de algo tan, ¿cómo decirlo? Difícil, de algo tan... Pues sí, él tiene pruebas y todo, o sea, le enseñas a la gente los videos y todo, pero por más que los ves, no sé, o sea, a mí me cuesta mucho trabajo creerlos. Yo sí creo que hay, yo sí creo que debe de haber vida allá afuera, está cabrón que no haya, o sea, no mames. Pero... Puta, ¿cómo lo demuestras? O sea... Inclusive yo creyendo, veo esos videos, por ejemplo, y no, o sea, no creo. Es como de... ¿Qué? No, en mi mente son...
Here there.
Editados, ¿sabes? Pues ya el cine nos tiene, creo que tan desensibilizados o algo así. O no sé. Es que creo que personalmente no puedes creer que algo que se supone tan escondido tanto tiempo y todo, de repente resulta que no, o sea que no sé, está muy difícil, es muy dificilísimo. La dificilización. La dificilización. Cámaras. Cámaras. Aprovecha nuestras ofertas. 2x1 en pizzas sencillas. Un ingrediente. Pizzas sencillas del Roquetón. Yo necesito comprar algo. Necesito comprar algo. No, pues está cabrón. Necesito farmear para sacar dinerito y comprar una bolsita.
The Alliance.
For the Alliance. No, qué complicado. Qué difícil se me hace. Lejos de la tranza y la prostitución. No sabía escribir canciones chidas. Chidas. Oye, este pedo. Ok, vamos. Seis, siete. A ver. Vamos por Murlocs. Odio a los Murlocs. He muerto tantas veces a manos de estos culos que ya no quiero verlos a menudo. Usaban esto para hacer rapsitos, ¿no? Creo. Me suena. No me quiero meter a nadar, tengo miedo. Where to? Huerco, ¿a dónde huerco? No, no era este, era este. Güey, el otro que me invitó. ¿Por qué se fue?
That's still recharging. I need a target.
Se dice que necesito una tarjeta.
That spell isn't ready yet.
El otro güey que me invitó, neta.
That's still recharging.
Hijo de su perra madre, ¿estando en serio? No lo puedo creer. No lo puedo creer. No, 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 está muy... Muy lentito. ¿Qué es esto? Ah, sí, 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 sí. Creo que no. WoW Esports Anthem. No, pues no, está cabrón. Me tengo que mover de aquí, porque si no va a salir otra vez ese güey. No me fijé si no iba por ahí el pinche loco que corre. Es que no me quiero ir para allá, me da miedo, hay muchos. Sí, no tengo que dar la vuelta, no voy a empezar a meter ahí. No, 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 vamos a empezar a hacer mensos. Porque por mensos nos morimos. Por mensotes nos morimos. A ver, escuchamos cómo hacer una granja de piedra.
Today I've got a very special thing planned. Sudden fog, can't see a thing. Also, you can see I added this roof, so now I'm all sheltered in here. Anyway, that's besides the point. Today we're gonna go and make a wood and stone farm. Fully automatic, AFK, wood and stone farm. So, I spent about 3 hours designing this thing and in creative mode, and we are gonna go and do this in survival for the first time. After I made it, I noticed that somebody else has made the exact same design on YouTube. I was so annoyed because I spent so long designing this. So I guess you could say it's not entirely my my design, but I promise you it is. I made this myself. Anyway, this is the spawner for the Grey Dwarfs, and this is how we're going to do it. So, in case you didn't know, they can't spawn on any man-made or Viking-made structures. So, I just laid this around, and that disables the spawner. This will not spawn anything now. Pretty cool, eh? So, we need to start digging. This thing involves going down a lot, and oh god, I can't wait to have this up and running. So if I destroy this, they should spawn in theory. So the way this is going to work is we're going to dig down all the way to the, I guess, bedrock as far as we can, and then we're going to make a little pillar in the middle, and from there, they will only be able to spawn on this. A little bit hard to explain right now, so I'm just going to start digging, and I guess I hit a rock. Wow. Still going. There we go. Just hit the bottom. Okay, yes, I can get out of here using the, just jumping up the side. But, yeah, in fact, that's what I want to do. I want to get out of here. I'm going to mark the corners. I don't want to make this any bigger than it absolutely has to be. So, I think the first thing I have to do is get to the middle here. So, you know what, let's start digging this whole place out. Let's make a little box. So, in case I didn't actually cover this, I did prepare this in advance, quite clearly. I've been thinking about this for quite some time, and I'm really excited to get this going here, so I just sort of had to do it while I was in between episodes. That looks pretty good, so now we're going to dig this way. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. Right, now let's go the other way. Right, and let's round this thing. There we go. Beautiful. Right. So now we're going to be careful to sort of chisel this back a little bit. I don't want to take away too much of this, otherwise I'll have to rebuild it with some stone. So let's take a layer off each side, like this. It's funny, this is pretty much a tutorial. And I think that's good. I might want to make it a little bit different, like chisel off one more here. I'm scared to do this, but yeah, I'm gonna do it. Oh god, I'm skeptical. There we go. No, that's better. I like it. Cool. So we've got like a nice little pillar going underneath the structure there. Now also one little thing that I've done is I've modified these signs. So by default, the signs have like massive text, and the problem with that is I've squished these signs quite close to each other. So once you've got all these text, the text starts to overlap each other. So I've just added a bunch of spaces at the beginning to make it small text at the bottom. So I thought it's a nice little trick if you guys are wondering. These are going to be my dump chests, so I'm not going to have anything on these. But this is going to be all labeled and done and dusted. A lot of work to do with that. Lot of work. Now, in order to carry on, I'm going to need a stone cutter here, and I'm all the way up near here, so I don't know how I'm going to get it. I think I'll have to go the old way with the boat across here. Yep, that seems what I have to do. This is not going to be fun. Alright, let's do it. Now, in regards to teleporting iron, I've been thinking, is there a way to craft it into, say, a mace, and then melt it back down into ingots? I'm sure there isn't. But that would be extremely useful. Really useful. Just a little something that's been on my mind lately, because right now this is kind of annoying. I'm actually going to take, how much is it? I'll take exactly the amount for the stone cutter, because I don't want to take too much up there. 2 iron. Is there anything else I think I might need? No. Oh yeah, I forgot my chest got destroyed here. What? Well, they're still on the ground, honestly. So, everyone in the comments has been pointing out these things, or like something that looks like this. Basically, if you see pillars, dig in the middle, everyone's been saying. So, while I'm here, on the way, I might as well just give it a go. So, let's dig right in the middle. I spotted this when I was running my iron. I'm on the same sort of trip, so let's see what we find down here. Okay. I'm at the bottom in the middle, and nothing's here, so I'll start digging out a little bit. Okay, nothing there so far, so...
Ok, muchas de sus explicaciones y todo, pero no entiendo nada porque no he llegado ahí. Sí, mira. Que le estoy apretando esa madre, estoy acostumbrado a usar eso, güey. Tengo que dejar de usar la Q para todo. Sobre todo sabes que la F se va a ir a esas. Ajá. Mira. No, eso es lo que me va a pasar.
I need to get closer.
¿Y cuál era? Era este. No, creo que no me muevo muchas bolas. Que no debería, me tengo que empezar a acostumbrar. Acostumbrémonos, 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 acostumbrémonos. Vamos a ver a esto. Quiero escuchar qué pasa.
This is the last picture of Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia. He's supposed to be Viggo Mortensen to Aragorn, Ryan Reynolds to Deadpool, the Christian Bale to Patrick Bateman, but the Witcher Netflix showrunners had different plans. Yeah, well, he was supposed to be second fiddle to Yennefer, and so he quit. What a surprise. I mean, again, it's people that don't have any respect for the source material that want to take it and turn it into a vehicle for them to push their own agenda or push their own worldview. It's actually good that he's leaving. It's good that the show is dying because it shows that this type of mindset is no longer profitable or a thing that will make you successful. So I'm very glad that the show is dying. And nobody is going to care about it after this season, and I think that people should, you know, more actors should probably do this as well if they feel like they're getting fucked around. Chris Hemsworth will redeem the show. Just watch. I mean, you know, we'll see what happens.
That spell isn't ready yet.
And he represented us, and we love him for that. Yeah, exactly. Season through, truly shit. True. No one cares about it now. Exactly. Why would they? Is still Geralt in my book? Yeah, of course he will be. It's going to be so weird. Now he's going to be working with Amazon to do Warhammer 40k. Shitty as it is, I'm glad he found another role or a subject he really enjoys. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, I'll be curious to see like what this actually is going to be. But yeah, I mean, I think Warhammer 40k is definitely a challenge to, you know, make a show out of. But we'll see what happens. Hemsworth isn't bad, but he's in a shit position. Yeah, like it sucks to be him, man. It really does because like, you know, everybody is going to compare you to the old guy, and it's like, even if he's as good as Henry Cavill, he'll...
Sí, no, el que pongan ahora va a estar horrible, va a ser... No va a estar horrible necesariamente, pero... No manches, o sea... Siempre se va... ¡Oh, lobo! Okay, beginner's tips.
This Valheim guide has everything timestamped below in the description, but we'll be covering the following. How to craft a full set of bronze weapons and armor and upgrade it fully so you have 36 armor in total, and how to get the best early game weapons like the fine bow, and craft fire arrows and a sledgehammer that does huge area of effect damage. We'll also be covering where to find tin and copper and how to get certling cores to build a forge and a furnace so you can create tin and copper bars to make bronze, and then start upgrading all your gear. All I ask in return is that you take a moment to like the video. But if you have not watched my part 2 guide on killing the first boss, Ekthir, please watch and do that first, because it drops the materials you need to craft a pickaxe to mine tin and copper. That part 2 guide is linked in the description below. But now, let's begin part 3. So the first thing we need to do is use woods and the hard antler, which we got as a drop from the first boss, and then come over here to the crafting workbench, and then we need to craft the antler pickaxe. This is going to allow us to actually mine for the first time in the game. And also, to quickly mention, I'm using a flint axe. This is like the best weapon you have access to currently. We will be making a better one shortly, but I recommend that you actually craft the flint axe, and then you go ahead and upgrade it to the maximum amount of damage you can. As well, I also recommend crafting leather armor and upgrading too. It's definitely worth doing, and it's going to give you a lot higher armor value. Armor in this game does a tremendous amount for you. The other thing I recommend doing is crafting yourself a wooden shield, because these are so useful early on for avoiding any damage at all. And then once again, you're going to want to go ahead and upgrade this as well. So in order to find copper and tin, you need to go from the meadow starting area and find the dark forest area. If you look on the top right of the mini-map, as I cross over into this area, you'll see the name actually changes to tell me I'm now in the Black Forest. On the map, this kind of looks like a bit of a darker woodland area just over here. And you're going to find tin near the coastline, and I'll show you where to find the copper deposits in a moment. And as you guys can see, the trees in the meadow are completely different to the trees in the Black Forest, which have these huge pine trees. So once we're in the Black Forest, you're just going to head towards the coastline of the Black Forest biome area. So we're running along the shore here.
Hasta ahí he llegado, no voy a ver más. Ok, solo sé que ya hay que hacer eso. Vamos a guardar el video de ese güey.
This Valheim guide has everything timestamped below in the description, but we'll be covering the following. How to craft a full set of bronze weapons and armor and upgrade it fully so you have 36 armor in total, and how to get the best early game weapons like the fine bow, and craft fire arrows and a sledgehammer that does huge area of effect damage. We'll also be covering where to...
Se está acabando ese güey. Quiero ver algo de los aliens, pero... ¿Qué? ¿Por qué me aparecen esas cosas? Güey, ¿por qué me aparecen esas cosas? No quiero... No mames, te odio YouTube. Por Dios. Oh, por Dios, no. No, gracias. Oh, por Dios, no. Oh, por Dios, no. No, thank yous. Tabernas. No queremos escuchar tabernas. Qué difícil es poner algo, de veras. A ver quién eres. Oscar
No sé
Alejandro.
si lo sabías, pero los parques temáticos de Universal Studios
Oscar
son
Alejandro.
los únicos que ofrecen, a diferencia de otros parques muy reconocidos, que vivas una experiencia idéntica a la que viven las estrellas de Hollywood, personalidades muy famosas, millonarios, políticos importantes, en fin, cualquiera que pueda ser catalogado como VIP. Para que juntos descubramos cómo es el trato que le dan a personas muy importantes en los parques de Universal, viajé hasta Los Ángeles, California, donde te ofrecen la posibilidad de entrar a los verdaderos estudios de Hollywood donde se han filmado muchas de tus aventuras favoritas. ¿Cuánto cuesta esta experiencia
los verdaderos
de lujo?
estudios de
¿Valdrá
Hollywood.
la pena pagar el boleto? Ponte cómodo y prepárate a sacar cuentas.
No, no creo.
Tu película comienza así.
No creo que valga la pena pagar esa experiencia. Bien chafona. No lo creo. No lo creo, Jake. Videotape, la romance de la mañana en la mañana. ¿Qué es eso? No. Sí, esto se me antoja. Sobre todo por la morrita.
I can't cast
Ah,
that
que no
yet.
puedo usar esa tecla chihuahua. La chihuahuación. Por favor, no me baneen, señor YouTube. No me haga la baneación. La baneación. Está chida, sí, está más animadita, pero tranquilita, no tan a la mierda como luego las ponen. Güey, es que sí, güey, se va a pegar el otro, no quiero. Mi banda me está picando. Miren, banda, me está picando. Órale. No mames. Güey, se ponen bien mal. No sé si ahorita es un buen momento para usar esa poción de fuerza. Ahí viene otro güey de esos.
I need to get closer.
No, no necesitas acercarte más. ¿O sí? Ah, ya vete, pato. Está el otro ahí atrás. Sí, no sé cuánto estos me da medio, oiga. Me da medio.
That's still recharging.
Ufas. Ya se fue el mensaje, vamos a entrar. Vamos a entrar. ¿Por qué no se me hizo meter fuera mi armadura de grosero? Pues como ustedes me les cuenta, gachos, ratas de tunelcindo. Me la aviento así, me la aviento así, me la aviento así, me la aviento así. No voy a tener que parar ya porque me va a matar. Bonk. Me rasgué más. Porque no quería. No me voy a arriesgar que me maten. No manches. No manches. No manches. Otro bonzazo. ¿Creen que sobrevivamos? ¿Creen que moramos? No lo quiero hacer, pero ahí vamos. Es que hay dos aquí. Cool, 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 cool. Morir rápido. Es que se mete unos bonks. Bonk. No le estoy bajando nada, tío. O sea, como... Güey, ¿qué pedo? No me estoy pegando. ¿Por qué no me está pegando? Güey, pégale. ¿Qué? What the fuck? What the fuck is happening? No podía pegar por alguna razón, no sé por qué. Que van a estar para los dos juntitos, puñalones, puñetones, ya sepárense. No mames, no, ahí van a estar. Sí, sí, sí. Se metaron una guía. We're fine, todo bien, nos limpiamos. Estamos aquí, ya nos completamos, vámonos a la mierda, vámonos a la mierda, vámonos a la mierda. ¿Es uno?
Inventory is
No,
full.
se le den putazo.
I can't carry anymore.
Uf. Uf. No sé qué tirar. No sé qué no quiero. El agua. Las botas. Las botas. Tiene las botas. Eso no debería ser. Let's go, chickies. Let's go, chickies. Let's go. Let's go.
That's still recharging.
No, no, voy a poner pero bien. Bien. Bien sujeto. Otra vez, ¿verdad? Ya vámonos porque necesito ir a hacer pipí, amigos. Necesito ir a hacer pipí. Una pipicita. Aunque sea chiquita. La pipición, ¿dónde está la torre de Azora? No es cierto, yo no la he descubierto, no me mientan. Solo porque sé dónde está, si no. Está buena su rolita, pero ya me aburrió también. Por Dios, qué
In today's
complicado.
Valheim guide, I show you where to find the second boss.
The second boss. No mames. Qué chido. Bueno, vamos a ver más tips y trucos.
So today guys, we're looking at 50 tips and tricks in the Valheim game. These should help you out no matter what level you're at, but in particular if you're new, they'll be very useful. If you want more videos like this and more Valheim videos in general, please do consider liking and subscribing for more. You can open your inventory and crafting area by pressing tab. Down here you can start off by crafting things, and one of the best things to craft early game will be the hammer, as this will open up many more crafting recipes, as we shall see in a minute. Also on tab you have the Valheim Compendium. This will show you your current active effects, and also you can scroll through all of your previous fusion tips to see what advice you've got if you need a reminder. This menu also has the area to show you your skills and your current trophies, as well as toggling PvP if you are playing on a server. Pressing M will open up the map and make you scroll in and out to zoom in and out of the map, and when you get to a certain area you are able to double click to set a waypoint. You can then left click this again to cross it out, and right click if you want to delete it. If it is crossed out and you want to uncross it, simply left click again. On the right hand side here you'll see you have different icons that you can use to set here, and you can select one of those by left clicking. Once you have your icon and you've placed it, you can also type in a name here if you want to make a icon just like this. It can be an idea to scroll way out on your map, as you will find some icons area, but I know where I have to head if I want to get to the Elder. When in game, you can also use the middle mouse wheel to scroll in and out of your view to be zoomed in or out for a different viewpoint. You can press Ctrl plus F3 to get rid of the heads-up display, and you can still scroll in and out at this point, and then use F12 to get screenshots that you're not in if you so wish. When you're out and about, you can select your hammer and right-click to open up a menu and make yourself up a campfire. As long as you have some stone and wood on you, then left-click to place it. If you go near to the campfire and you press X to sit down, you can rest on the go without needing to have a bed. Of course, you may need a shelter if it's raining, because fire can be put out by rain.
No one else available.
Weapons and armor on you.
Pues fue que habla. Ok, es el pendejo que se escucha hasta acá. Ya lo encontré después de 20 años.
This will put this behind you so that you can run around a little bit faster and lose a bit of stamina.
Necesito una bendita bolsa.
Simply hit R again to quickly remove these weapons. When When you get to water, you can swim, but as you see here, if you run out of stamina and are still swimming, you will start to take damage. So you definitely want to be careful about swimming, particularly out in the open.
Whoa, what?
You can punch these trees here to break them up and get punch them using your fists, but it must be these very small trees, obviously not any of the bigger trees. This will give you your starting wood requirements before you make your axe. So once you have your axe, you will be able to chop down trees by going up to the tree and left clicking it. As you see here, they do fall. Now be very careful, because if the trees fall on you, you will take damage. Once it falls, you'll have this, and sometimes it gets stuck on other trees like this, other times it will be on the floor. Simply then start chopping this up, and you'll chop this log into pieces, and eventually down into wood, and you'll get a lot more wood.
No one else available.
From these saplings. Again, be careful, as these logs here can take damage, and it could even kill you, so be careful when you are chopping down trees. When you're exploring, you will
no one else available.
To get them, you want to hit control to sleep, and come up from behind them with your weapon wielded. You can get pretty close to them, do it this way, and you want to be pretty close before you attack, so as not to scoop them. Scare them, I should say. Scoop them, don't know what that was. And then when you attack them, obviously they'll die, and you'll get the goodies from them. One of the drops that you will get from killing deer are the deer trophy. You will need 2 of these in order to spawn in the first boss. Feel free to kill as many deer and boar as you find around your map and around your base. They will keep respawning, so you don't need to worry about saving them later for farming. You can make a hoe, and whilst holding it, right click to open up this menu where you can create path, raise ground, or even level ground. Leveling ground is useful, as you will be able to place floor on it, which you'll need to do in order to make your house. In order to sleep, your bed needs to be under cover and also near a fireplace. In order to do this, you can either do what I've done here, where the fire is placed on the dirt. Fire cannot be placed on the floor, so I placed it on the outside of the house and then made this structure here around it. Be sure to do the roof like I've done here. As you can see there, it is letting smoke out. If you don't do that, your cabin will fill with smoke, and you'll inhale that and your character will take damage. However, a cheap way to do this early game is to make a fireplace just here like you see. My bed is just behind this wall right here. Once this fireplace is lit, the bed will see that it is near enough to a fireplace and allow you to sleep. However, if it rains, this fire will be doused. Whilst holding your hammer, you can right click and see a whole host of things here that you are able to craft. And if you got to items that have been left outside, you can left click to repair them. These items, when left outside, will take damage in the rain and will need to be repaired, otherwise they could be destroyed. One thing you can do when you have 50 wood and you're holding a hammer is to right click and select a wood stack, which is what you see I have here. This means you're able to stack up your wood, and then when you need it, you simply, whilst holding the hammer, middle mouse click to pick all the wood back up, and you'll have 50 more wood in your inventory. I have 31 already. This is a better way of storing wood than taking up space in your chests. Your workbench and forge must be placed under cover, as you see here with the roof, and also have some walls around them before they are able to be used. Once you have that done, you can go up to a workbench and press E.
Yo tengo hambre, voy a ir a comer algo,
oigan. Items and that sort of stuff for free. You simply just keep left clicking this stuff until that is no longer there, and it will repair all of your things for you. This is free to do and should be done. When in your inventory,
to
select any number you like out of the stack.
Esta madre es 9 y yo soy 8, 7.
You'll then pick that up and you can put them in here. You can again shift click here like this and just take a couple back and put them back in like that if you want to. Once you have a bow, you will see there are a range of different arrows you can use. We have fire arrows here and flint head arrows. In order to select which arrows your bow is going to shoot, you can simply right click and they will then turn blue. This means that I'm now about to shoot a fire arrow. Chests are a great way of storing items. However, if we try to make a chest here and place it on top of another chest, you'll see it simply won't let us. So one way around that is to go into the building section and get this little 1x1 wood floor thing here and place that just above the chest. Then we can right click back to furniture, get the chest and place it on top of the wood just like that. If you use the hammer to destroy this bit of wood in between, you'll see the chest actually stays in place. So you can stack the chest neatly like this and still access them both, even though there is nothing between them. In order to cook food, you will need to make up a cooking station and place it above a fire pit. Once you do that, you can of course get your food and place it on there to cook. So you can grab some of your meat here just like this, go up and you'll see here we can press E to cook the item. Now what the item will do, it'll actually go through 2 stages. First of all, it will cook and you'll get cooked meat from it. If you leave it, it will actually be a way of getting some charcoal. So we're going to see all that just now. So as you see there's a bit of a graphic, a bit of a noise and a change, and we can simply look at that now and press E to pick up a cooked, there we go, pick up a cooked bit of food and add that to our meat that we have on us. Now this one right here is also cooked, but we're just going to leave it and you'll see the next stage it goes through. So there we go, that little change right there.
Queremos carnita, vende la carnita y así vamos a regresar. Podemos cocinar de una vez.
So now in our inventory we have picked up a coal, so we've got a lump of coal there. Coal is used in the smelter. I have a video all about the mining guys.
I need a target.
On me right now I am holding
Pero
a
no,
spear.
porque no tenemos skinning todavía, porque soy bien listo.
Another thing you can do if you use the middle mouse button
No
is
tenemos
throw it at an
skinny.
enemy and kill it that way. This of course gives you two different options of attack with the spear. I'm currently holding the Stag Breaker Hammer, and this is a very powerful weapon that you can make in the early game. Pretty OP for an early game weapon, but it also has another use, as I'll show you when we get to a structure. So when you get to structures throughout your game, you can use this hammer to hit at these structures, and it will take a few hits. I'd already done some damage before, but then what you'll actually do is be able to pick up wood from these. So it can be a way of getting wood early game. If you're unhappy with your world seed, but you feel like you've done a lot of work and you've got skills and items you don't want to lose, not to fear, simply load up your inventory with all the things you want and log out. Once you've done this, you can start a new world with the same character, and all of the skills and items will be kept. So if we go start a new game here, we go start, we'll go new, and we'll just go for a seed of new, because I haven't done that one before. Oh, new. Oh, right, it has to be whatever up here.
New.
Hit done and start this world. I'll wait for this to spawn up, and then I'll show you that I have all of my items and skills. So here I am. I've literally just spawned in this new world. You can see from the map I haven't done anything yet at all, and yet in my inventory here I have all that stuff that I left with, and on my skills, all my skills are what they were on that previous world. Once you have a pickaxe, you can easily find buried treasure and bones. When you find a stone arrangement like this in the shape of a ship, you simply dig it out, and as you can see down here, I left the chest in place. There was treasure inside this before, and as you're digging it, you'll find skeletal remains, which once picked up will give you some bone fragments. A cart is a very useful thing to make throughout the game because you can store a lot more in it than you can carry yourself. Simply pick it up and wheel it around to scale off chopping, and just take a whole load of extra resources with you. Once you're at the stage where you have a charcoal kiln and also a smelter, one little tip is to put things in them before you go to sleep at night time. If I put a load of tip in there, to be smelted up and then go to sleep, when I wake up, time will have passed, and all those resources will be waiting out the front for me in the morning. Make sure to be wearing as much good armor as possible and taking as many weapons and a shield and all that sort of stuff with you before you go exploring, particularly if you can do a Black Forest. You will need to do a lot of Black Forest exploring in the early game, and those places can be very dangerous. You do not want to die there. So speaking of Black Forest, here we are in one, and here are a few things you can find, starting off with carrot seeds, which look like this, and you can press E to pick them up. You can get a few seeds from each carrot that you will find, and you can use these seeds later on to farm them for food, either for yourself or to use to breed boars. Another thing you can find in Black Forest are pine trees. These are definitely worth cutting down, as pine wood is useful and will unlock some new recipes. Copper and tin will also be found in Black Forest biomes. As you can see, this is a big deposit of copper right here. When you see this, you will need a pickaxe to hit away at to go ahead and get the copper. Tin will be found down near the water, just like this. So here we are near the water, and there is a tin deposit. Again, you can use your pickaxe on that to harvest it. Tin will always be found near water in the Black Forest biome. You'll also
What can I do for you?
burial chambers inside
Ay, señórame a despellejar. Eso puedes hacer por mí. Muchas gracias, eres muy amable. Eres la más amable. Ay, queremos pescar, sí, sí queremos pescar también. Queremos hacer todo.
So do be careful. There's going to be a lot of things there trying to kill you. Gear up, eat up, all that
Bandit.
sort of stuff. But that is where you'll also get your Surtling cores and some loot from. You can get things like rubies and gold and stuff like that in those as well. When you're out exploring, you'll often be trying to find your way between one or more different icons, and they are obviously on your map, and the mini-map is in the top right corner of the screen. You'll see here by using the combo and stop buttons, you can zoom in and out of the map so that you can enable yourself to see those icons more easily if they are a bit further away. Stamina is very important when you're trying to fight things. If you run out of stamina, you won't be able to attack and defend yourself. Once you have a forge, you'll be able to use that to make a lot of things, and one of those things is a cultivator, as you see right here. Now you need bronze for this, and you'll also need wood. You get from those pine trees I showed you in the Black Forest biome.
Déjenme ir a hacer la pipición. Lo voy a sacar porque si no nos empieza a contar un chingo de
making
tiempo.
it cultivated land that just looks like farmland, and then you can also plant things on the
Ahorita venimos,
So if we go here, you'll see, for example, we can place a carrot seed just down there like that. If we come over here, we cannot place a carrot seed on this bit of land here that hasn't been cultivated. It needs to be in the cultivated area. Once you have some deer hide on you, you can